wait for it to refresh. I mean, we don't have to wait. We can just go and hope that it's actually going.
Fingers
that it's
crossed.
actually going. Seems good.
Something.
Seems
I got
fun.
an ad on my Twitch, so.
Well, there you go.
Yep. Perfect. Me too. So,
Again, not the best, but it works. We made it work. Oh, I'm not recording. There, now I'm recording.
Okay,
nice.
Excellent.
Killing it.
That was how easy it was.
Yep.
Oh, my face is opposite. That's normal, but it's weird.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love the cover that you put up, Jessica.
Yeah, that looks great.
All right. Anyway, hello everyone, and welcome to another special episode, I guess the first special episode, of Animorphous Discussion, the only podcast on the internet that my brother specifically keeps calling me to ask why the episodes aren't up yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, why would I tell you about other ones?
I mean, you know, we talk about other stuff, but for some reason, this podcast, he just really wants to know why I haven't uploaded stuff. Weird. I'm your host, Robin, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jessica.
Hi.
And Katie Treggs.
Hi.
And you may have noticed that this episode is being streamed. That's right. It's a very special episode, because we're doing Megamorphs #1, The Andalite's Gift. Who's excited?
Me.
Wait, it's called The Andalite's
excited.
Gift?
Yes.
And not like The Gift?
No, this is the Andalite's Gift. There's lots of gifts in this series, Jessica. You shouldn't focus on just the Andalite Gift.
It's nice that the Megamorphs book gets extra title space.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just completely ruining my understanding of the naming convention of these books.
Well, I mean, Megamorphs, let me think. I can only think of 2 off the top of my head, but both of them have 3-word titles.
I don't like that. That's not what I've come to know and expect.
We've all adjusted to the other way of things.
You can call it just Andalite's Gift, I guess. And the other one I think that I know of is called Back to Before. You could just call that Back Before.
No, that's also not the correct naming convention.
Back to the past. No, that doesn't work. Anyway, this one's called The Andalite's Gift. I'm gonna also break with tradition and tell y'all what happened last time in Animorphs history. Just sort of give you a brief summary, because this book takes place between books 7 and 8, and right now we've streamed or podcasted up to book 7, so it's actually perfectly timed. The last book was from Rachel's perspective, and spoiler alert, they destroyed the Kandrona. Ooh,
Yeah,
I remember that.
What the Kandrona is?
What did you say?
Do you remember what the Kandrona is?
Yeah, that's the thing that makes the rays that keeps the Yorks alive.
Correct. So they destroyed it, hoping to starve a lot of Yerks and free a lot of hosts. And we'll learn how that breaks bad in book 8. But in this one, book 7, everyone needs a break. And boy, do they get it.
Oh my god, wait. Is it like in the X-Men when they all go to the mall?
No.
So
there is a mall in this.
Is book 7 the one where, like, everyone almost dies while trying to fight the... What are they called? It's 2 words. It's not Shatterkai.
Hork-Bajir?
Hork-Bajir, thank you.
That's nothing like Shatterkai.
I mean, I'm
What's
fighting...
a Shatterkai?
Shatterkai are, like, the evil elf people that we fought in D20 Dames, like, several weeks ago.
Nice. Oh, also I forgot. Hang on. Okay. Now I'm in morph mode.
Or should I morph too?
Yeah, let's morph. Morph on, as they say in the
disappearing
Animorphs
and
books.
morphing.
Oh, me too? I don't...
Oh my god.
Jessica's gone now, and it's just this lobster.
AKA the Predator.
The predator.
Yeah.
I'm the ultimate predator.
Amazing.
I love it.
Me and this good lobster.
It's a good lobster.
A good predator lobster.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Wait. Where did you get that lobster?
I've had it for a long time.
Let me just freeze frame you hugging that lobster so good. Where's my quick screen button? Oh no.
Do you do it?
Nope.
I can only
Yes.
show affection for so long.
I know, it's so hard for you. I got it. I found my print screen button. As long as I don't copy anything for the rest of the podcast.
I did it too, but it's not a very good picture. You were halfway in a blink. Oh well.
Aw. What was I saying? Oh, right. So, this book is different from the regular Animorphs books in a lot of ways. It's a little longer. It's from everyone's perspective. They all alternate chapters. And also, it is not available online anywhere legally. But I have it. So anyway, let's get into it.
Okay. I was waiting for a next part of that sentence. Legally. Just
I mean, I obtained this completely legally. I legally own a copy of this, and
Hold
also
on,
I have an
let
ebook.
me help you with that. She obtained it completely legally. Hoink.
Nice.
I
Good
love
That's
wink.
the case.
Okay. So it starts with everyone in Cassie's barn trying to convince Rachel that she should go to gymnastics camp. It's this 2-day gymnastics camp thing that she had planned before the whole Animorph thing started. But she's already decided not to go. She told Melissa Chapman that she's not going. Melissa was her friend whose dad is the assistant principal, who's like a yerk. And the rest of them are like, no, you should go. We'll be fine for 2 days without you. It's no big deal. And she was like, okay, fine. I'll catch the bus first thing in the morning to go to the gymnastics camp. Meanwhile, Cassie told Jake that she had a nightmare about something forcing her to choose between her and her life and her friend's life. And she was scared of the choice. And Jake did a pretty bad job comforting her. I don't have the line, but I guess he looked scared that she had the nightmare, which, of the nightmares that they could have had after becoming Animorphs, seems pretty good.
Yeah. She wasn't
Yeah.
like, I had a dream about that time that my guts were literally on the outside of my body because I got sliced open.
I had a dream
Right.
that I was an ant getting chopped in half by another ant.
So specific.
Mm.
I had a dream that I got smaller and then my body was destroyed by a spaceship in another dimension.
No, that hasn't happened yet.
Oh my bad, you're right.
They don't know that that's possible. Neither do we. So
You're
anyway, Rachel's like, fine, I'll go. I'll catch the bus first thing tomorrow morning. So the next day, she gets to school an hour before the bus is supposed to arrive to pick up any, I guess, late stragglers. I guess this is a 2-day gymnastics camp that picks up some kids on Friday afternoon right after school and some kids on Saturday morning at school,
Sure.
which
That old thing.
that seems like a thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, she gets there an hour early, but she decides, since she's got time, she's just going to go real quick, just morph into an eagle and go find Tobias and just check in on him, make sure he's good, see if he needs anything before she flies back and then goes to her gymnastics camp for 2 days. So she's flying around looking for him, and then she's mobbed by blackbirds, who I guess, based on this and Tobias's opinion of them, are just sort of like the assholes of the sky. They just like to mob people or mob other bigger birds for no reason.
Are they predators?
I guess. Sure, yeah. Sure,
Like that red blob that you got.
when you think of blackbirds, what I want you to think is lobsters with wings. That's basically what they are.
Oh
it.
no.
Just the predators of the skies.
Got
That's
it.
the ultimate predator.
Yeah.
Nothing could stop it.
No.
And they live forever. Animal fact.
Oh, hi, 10 triggers. Sorry, I didn't have the chat window actually visible. And I have morphed into a blue cat, and it's awesome. Anyway, so she's flying, and she's trying really hard to avoid these blackbirds, and then all of a sudden, there's a tree in front of her, and then all of a sudden, she's unconscious, because she smack dab straight into that there tree.
Can I really quickly guess what happens next?
Yeah, absolutely, you can.
Someone screams at her to wake up almost exactly 2 hours later and says, it's almost been 2 hours. You need to demorph right now.
Well, you're actually not correct this time.
Dang.
I would have
happened
guessed
to
the
everyone
exact
else.
Same thing. Yeah.
I know. But nope, not this time. This time, what happens is she doesn't think about the fact that no one at home is going to know that she's missing because they all think she's gone to the gymnastics camp. But no one in the gymnastics camp is going to be expecting her because she already said she wasn't going.
Mm.
And basically what happens is she gets amnesia. But we'll get into that in a minute. First, the other stupid thing that happens is Marco is very upset with a classmate of his named Darlene. And the reason he's upset with Darlene is because she invited basically everyone in school to this pool party at her parents' house, including Jake and Cassie, but she didn't invite Marco.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's a Sabrina the Teenage Witch scenario.
It is. Yeah.
And
then
Marco's Harvey, and he has to sneak in the back.
He does sneak in the back and dresses as a waiter, and then she makes him do a high dive,
Yeah.
and he slips on some butter. Was it butter?
It was something.
I think it was like spray tan or like spray suntan lotion.
But then he backflips over it and morphs into a dolphin on the way down, and everyone's like, "Whoa!"
That's
Not
not a
really.
dolphin.
No, Marco has a different way of sneaking into the party, and he gets Axe in on it with him. Axe goes with him because he figures Marco probably needs someone watching his back. So what they do is they morph into mice,
Of course.
and then they just run on in and fuck shit up, and just really freak people out, especially Darlene, who Marco has beef with, I guess.
So they're not trying to go to the party. They just want to get
Mess up
revenge
the party.
because they weren't invited to the party.
Yeah, especially Axe. You don't know this, but Axe gets real mad about not getting invited to middle school parties.
I would not have guessed that about Axe.
Yeah, no. That's basically his one defining character trait. I guess two. Is an alien, really wants to go to middle school pool parties.
Yeah, he just wants to take some chips and salsa, dump them on the floor, and eat them with his feet.
Exactly. Is that so much to ask? If you eat with your feet, what more could you possibly want in the world?
To
Anyway,
not have to eat with my feet.
so they're having a grand old time. Jake and Cassie notice these two mice running around, just giving everyone hell, and they're like, "Okay, there's no question about this. That's for sure Marco and probably Axe." And Jake is definitely gonna yell at them, but before he gets a chance, Marco and Axe run into Darlene's house and go to the basement so they can sneakily demorph. And then a tornado. Well, not quite a tornado. It's more like this big funnel cloud of black smoke covered in gnashing mouths and tendrils that destroys everything in its path. It basically wood chippers all the way through Darlene's house
Gross.
to the basement,
Ooh.
where it reveals Marco and Axe now in his human morph. And then, before anything else happens, it stops and flies away. Disappears into a mist and vanishes. So that was weird, right? Like, Mondays. Summer, I guess Saturdays, since it's a 2-day weekend camp thing this is happening on. Saturdays, am I right? It is classic Marco 10 triggers, thank you. So, meanwhile, in the woods, Rachel wakes up and looks down at her body and sees that she's like part bird and part human, and immediately freaks the fuck out.
I mean,
Because she has no memories and she doesn't know what she is. And she's like, was I always like this? Am I some sort of half human, half bird freak? Am I a human? Am I a bird? And she starts thinking about being human, and slowly she reverts to her human form, and she's relieved but also confused and
She's
panicked.
just screaming the whole time.
Just screaming constantly. First in thought speak, then in, speak. Let me just check where the rest of my thing is.
so right now, everyone but Rachel is at this party, and Rachel just lost her memory.
Yup.
Okay.
And did Tobias know that Rachel was around?
Nah. She was just gonna pop in and surprise him, but she couldn't find him before the blackbirds got her.
Is Rachel the one that Tobias is into, or is that Cassie?
Rachel.
Cassie and Jake.
This is a really good question that 10 Triggers just posed. Wouldn't morphing heal the amnesia brain damage?
The answer is no. Your brain stays the same. I don't know. How does amnesia work? if it didn't heal Wolverine, then and like he's got perfect healing powers. No, I mean you'd think it would.
All
Well,
right.
Or you,
Wolverine's memory lapses are probably more due to like dissociative episodes caused by trauma and not probably brain damage.
Damn.
I should not have opened up this conversation with a doctor of psychology.
I was just saying, X-Men hold up. They're just having fun in a mall on their days off.
Yeah, if only. So Rachel, who doesn't know her name or what she looks like or anything, is morphing to human. Hang on, I have a quick note that I took here where Rachel is describing Axe, or Aximili Escaroth Isthil, to use his complete name. That's a line in the book, so I had to say
good
it.
that the people got to see Jessica's face when you said that.
Yeah.
The first time.
It says, Axe is an Andalite, the only Andalite to survive a terrible space battle with the Yeerks. Prince Elfangor was his brother. And then I put a note on that saying, this book is not well written. Like, it's just not really well written.
So,
and it was very kind of hard to get through. Go
and
on.
Rachel is the one thinking that?
Yeah, that was what she was thinking before she got attacked by birds. I just saw it as I was going through my notes.
Oh, okay. I thought
So
you were
this
saying
book-
that like she had amnesia, but she remembers that specifically.
No, she does have some memories, though, that are denoted by the word flash, because they're flashes of memory, which is great. Marco got Axe to help him, kind of, by promising to help Axe, who has small itching bumps on parts of his body.
Wait.
Axe has fleas. He's got fleas, and Marco promised him a powerful medicine to help.
He's not going to give him the flea medicine unless he helps him? That's mean.
That's super
Yeah.
mean.
Let's see. Rachel, Tobias saw the dust cloud for going towards the forest, and Rachel all of a sudden sees this huge funnel cloud with gnashing mouths and swirling black fog. And she doesn't need to have memories to know that's bad news. So she runs away, as you would, and runs and starts to get tired as this thing is chasing her, and then comes to like a 6-lane highway and can't stop running, so keeps going and runs onto the highway. A lot of cars swerve, nearly hit by a Ben & Jerry's truck. The thing that is hit by the Ben & Jerry's truck, the big smoke monster, which demolishes it. Like, it
all
slowed
that
down
ice cream.
slightly. Yeah,
Oh, good question.
it really wants that chunky monkey or whatever. Yes? Oh, sorry, I thought you said question. No question.
Oh, I said good question to Jessica because I thought she asked what happened to all the ice cream.
Destroyed, ruined, eaten.
Super bummer.
It's real sad. Anyway, Rachel keeps going and runs into the woods and eventually finds this like shack. It's an abandoned shack. And the monster stops chasing her. Hang on, I need to remember why it stopped chasing her. I think it just seems like it gets confused and dissipates, and I'll tell you why it does that later. So, there's different reasons why the monster stops chasing people, and you'll understand in a minute. So she keeps running, and she sees this like shack in the woods, because after the highway, there's just more woods. And there's like some clothing hanging on a line outside, and she's like, oh, it's probably from the Limited. And then she's like, wait, what is the Limited? Why do I know this? And she realizes that she likes the mall. And she has a flash of shopping at the mall and feeling like she's at home there.
I knew it.
Yeah.
At
Flash.
first when you said the Limited, I was trying to figure out like what
Yeah.
weird alien thing the Limited was. But it's the store Limited. Got it. I'm with you now.
Yeah, I don't know if K.A. Applegate knows what the store is actually called, or if it is actually called the Limited. I don't know a lot about stores. I've heard of Limited too.
I always figured that like it was called Limited 2 because there was first a Limited, and then like later they made Limited 2 and they did 2 TOO instead of. I feel like that's a common pun that
Why
people
does
make.
anyone know what the Limited is? But yeah, so she sees this top and she has this flash of memory, and then there's a voice behind her that says, if you want to return the item, you'll need a receipt. And she spins around, startled, and she sees this woman there who looks, for shorthand, like a crazy woman who lives in the woods. Like, just sort of, she has that kind of vibe about her, and she's holding lots of, like, garbage clothing that she seems to have stolen from, like, dumpsters or whatever. And the woman's like, if you want to return the item, you'll need a receipt. And she's like, can you help me? Do you know where I am or anything? And the woman's like, this is my store. And if you want to return, you need a receipt. Otherwise go away or whatever. And then she goes inside the shack and Rachel follows her in. And there's just like tons of tables piled with all this garbage clothing. Rachel has nowhere else to go. That's in response to your facial expression.
So she just meets this woman in the middle of the woods and just follows her into a shack.
Yeah.
Okay, just triple checking, I guess.
Yeah. You might also remember they can't morph like bulky clothing. They basically have to morph something skin tight like a leotard. So Rachel's wearing her morphing suit, which is a leotard and no shoes. And she goes inside and she sees all of this like clothing on tables, and she says like, can you help me? And the woman's like, she's like, they won't take me back. They can't take me back. And she's like, can I, whose clothing is this? And the one's like, it's mine. You can't have it. You can't take me. You can't take my husband. You can't like all this stuff. And you can't crawl inside my brain and take over again.
Oh no.
She was de-yerked.
Is she one of the people that after they destroyed the thingy, then the yerk in her brain starved and died?
It seems possible that that's exactly what happened. Although also later you find out that she's lived in the woods for a long time. So
never mind.
Perhaps her yerk starved long ago, but she's definitely someone whose yerk was eventually starved out of her.
Damn.
And now she's just very, very ill in the woods. And Rachel says, can I shop at your store? And she's like, yes, if you pay cash, card, or something else, or cash, credit, or card. So Rachel finds like 2 mismatched shoes that are about the right size and like a pair of jeans. And she goes to the woman and the woman's like, cash, credit, or card. And Rachel feels really bad about it, but she picks up like a piece of wood off the ground and was like, card. And the woman takes it and was like, okay, here you go. And then as Rachel starts to take the stuff, the woman grabs her and says, are you one of them? And she's like, no, I'm not anyone. And she's like, there's only one way to find out, and shoves her into a cellar and says, you'll be dead in 3 days. And like puts something heavy over it.
Jesus.
So now Rachel is in sort of like a cellar with amnesia, with a very mentally ill woman above her who thinks that she's a yerk.
Obviously Rachel should not have gone into the stranger's shack.
Right.
And like obviously just like abducting people and putting them into cellars is not something that anyone should ever do. But also I feel like I've been saying this entire time that anytime they find a yerked person, they should just like trap them for 3 days. And finally someone is doing that.
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
Like, she knows that it would die in 3 days if she's been yerked. And she's like, let's find out for sure. See you in 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have this regular food. Yeah, that's really good.
Yep.
Anyway.
That would be great. Anyway, so Rachel's now in this cellar. It's not quite a cellar. It's more like it's dirt on three sides and these sort of like rotting logs on the last side. And Rachel thinks to herself that she tries to hit the logs and she can't. She tries to pound on the cellar door, and the woman is screaming "Yerk, yerk, yerk" at her. And then Rachel has a flash of a yerk pool, and then she's like, "But what does it mean? Am I a yerk? What is a yerk? Am I as crazy as this woman?" Like, she's really having some existential crises here. But she smells smoke and realizes that the cabin is on fire. And that she needs to get out. And the way she needs to get out is with some power. And without really thinking about it, she starts morphing into something with some power.
An elephant?
What?
An elephant?
No.
Oh.
You'll find out in a second. Meanwhile, back to the others, because we're jumping around a lot in this book. The others are watching a news broadcast about the freak tornado that struck Darlene's house. And Mark was like, they're blind if they think it was a tornado. It's clearly like a monster. And they show the house. It's like, yeah, obviously a tornado did this, not something otherworldly. And Mark was very upset. And then it's like, and now we go to the freeway where the same tornado, or perhaps a second tornado, fucked up this truck. That's how they talk on the news.
Yeah.
And they're watching it. And then all of a sudden, Cassie's like, wait, are you recording this? And Jake's like, yeah. And she's like, rewind. Okay, freeze frame. VCR. Anyway. Enhance. For just a split second, they see a girl with long blonde hair and a leotard and bare feet. Someone caught it on a dash cam or something. And no elephant, no sail. Oh God, my microphone. No. Okay. They're like, that's Rachel. Like, it's a blurry picture, but no one else would be barefoot in a leotard with blonde hair running from the same monster that was attacking Marco and Axe. Like, why isn't she at camp? Why hasn't she contacted us? Like, what's going on? So they decide to look for Rachel. Cassie is tasked with going to all of Rachel's like haunts because she knows her best. And Cassie's also worried that maybe Jake is trying to put her on an easier mission because she told him about that dream that she had and how much it spooked her. It's kind of sucky. But she calls her house and is like, and talks to Rachel's sister Jordan and was like, hey, is Rachel there? And Jordan's like, no, she's at the gymnastics camp for the whole weekend. Duh. And Cassie's like, oh, she didn't come home? And Jordan's like, no, of course not. Don't be silly. What are you talking about? And she's like, nothing, gotta go by. And then she checks out like the gym where she does gymnastics, and then she goes to the mall trying to like get into Rachel's head and figure out where she might be. We'll come back to that later, but first, Marco and Jake and Tobias go to the site where the Ben and Jerry's truck crashed, and they like start to explore. They get off the road a little bit and start to morph into wolves. And Tobias says that Axe is going to come to meet them soon, too, in the woods to help them look. So they start to morph into wolves, and then all of a sudden, spooky tornado comes, and they're like, oh shit. So they outrun it. They start running, and it's just plowing behind them, tearing up. Like, the trees are giving it almost no trouble, but they are slowing it down a little bit. So they go into thicker and thicker trees, thicker forest, trying to at least slow it down. And then they, Tobias tells them that pretty soon the forest is going to thin out into a meadow, and they're going to be screwed. And they're like, what can we do? We got to turn and face it. So they turn and face it, but before anything happens, it starts to float away. It goes away again. And they see it going in this direction, but also they see smoke. And smell smoke, I guess, with their wolf noses. Tobias sees smoke. I don't remember whose perspective this one was from. I think it was Jake, though. In 2001, it was a Baskin-Robbins truck. Was that in the TV show, James? I mean, not James. 10 Triggers. That's who that is.
Is the tornado like the spirit of their friendship, making sure that they're like brought closer together? That like challenges them first and then brings them closer together?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I feel like the spirit of our friendship is like.
Mouth tornado, for sure.
Mouth tornado. Just real hungry. Real hungry, real destructive.
Mm-hmm.
You just described me to a T.
Yeah. Relatable.
Real hungry, real destructive? That is Jessica.
You are the spirit of our friendship, Jessica.
Plus.
So now we cut to Rachel, who is morphing into a grizzly bear. And the grizzly bear, don't Google mouth tornado. Oh, God. The grizzly bear has no problem knocking out those old rotten logs. I actually, come to think of it now, I don't remember why the shack was on fire. Let me see.
Is it not because the old lady set it on fire?
I thought maybe the old lady set it on fire. I don't know. I don't have a better explanation than
But
that
Cherry
right
had
now.
such a good plan to just starve out the Yerk for 3 days, so
I know,
the
right?
fire seems unnecessary beyond that.
Tin Triggers also thinks the crazy lady set it on fire. To be fair, the lady is like real scared the Yerks are going to try to take her back.
Yeah.
Having a fire sale. Perfect. Nice. I like this having commentary while we do the episode. I mean, aside from your commentary, which is also great. I love it all the time.
Okay.
Just the face that you made when I said that was very...
Seemed like you didn't need to add that. I just went, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I didn't, but I did, so.
Okay.
Yeah, seems fine.
Okay.
I forgot what I was going to say next. Oh, so Rachel busts out of the thing, no problem. And then she sees this monster, this big, huge mouth tornado coming towards her. Eventually we'll learn the real name of it and I can stop calling it mouth tornado, but at least until then, mouth tornado.
Yeah.
She sees mouth tornado coming for her, but she's not scared. She's a grizzly bear. Nothing scares a grizzly bear, apparently. Animal fact.
That can't be true.
So she stands up and bellows defiance at it, and then she sees this weird creature jump into... She hears this voice in her head saying, "Rachel, is that you?" And then she sees this weird creature jump into like the clearing where the shack is, and it looks kind of like a centaur almost, but it's blue and like has kind of a deer body and these weird stalk eyes where my cat ears are. And he says, "Rachel, is that you in a morph?" And she says, "Rachel? Is that my name?" And then mouth tornado strikes. Now let's cut to Axe's perspective.
I have a new theory on what the mouth tornado is.
What's that?
Just like the ultimate plot device.
You're not wrong.
Just like one of those things that like an author thinks of and is like, this is perfect for everything that will happen here on out.
Yeah.
And then later they're like, oh, it was a lost kid who was having a bad day. It turned into smoke.
Yeah.
It's like some sort of weird like puzzle, like Andalite puzzle box.
Yeah. That's true. And if you challenge it correctly, it turns into a piñata full of chocolate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's how Andalites do.
If you challenge it correctly, it turns into friendship bracelets.
Mm.
Cute.
I would love that. It's the pinhead of Animorphs. Okay, so Axe is on his way to meet up with the others to help search for Rachel because they figure she's in the woods because she hasn't gone home and they saw her on that tape going towards the woods. And he is running and he's thinking about this monster because obviously they've talked about it before and the Animorphs asked him what it is and he's like, no fucking clue, man. He picked up human swearing real fast from these middle schoolers, as everyone does.
Yeah.
So he thinks it's obviously, since it's coming for them, it's obviously some Yerk tool or Yerk monster that's like coming to get them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, guys, not all aliens know each other. And as he's running to meet up with the others, he sees the mouth tornado in the distance. He doesn't know that it's chasing Marco and Jake at that point. He thinks it must be coming for him. So he's like, what can I do? Where can I hide? And he sees smoke and he's like, maybe I can hide in the smoke and it'll get confused in the fire. So he runs that way and he sees this grizzly bear standing up and bellowing defiance. And he says, "Rachel, is that you? Is that you in a morph?" And the bear says, "Rachel, is that my name?" And then the beast attacks. And the bear, totally not phased, just swipes at it with its big old bear claw. And then the bear doesn't have a bear claw anymore. Just like immediately bloody stump. But the bear, never one to back down, swipes at it again with its other bear claw. Does not work. And it bellows in pain and again defiance. Just a lot of defiance bellowing.
Try kicking it.
Right.
Try kicking it. Yeah, no.
And then when that doesn't work, kick it with its other leg.
Yeah.
And then when that doesn't work, it tries to headbutt it.
Yeah, exactly. No, it falls to the ground and the smoke monster closes in on it. The smoke monster from Lost closes in on it, and Axe doesn't know what to do because he knows that if he strikes at it with his sharp tail blade, he's just gonna lose that tail blade. There's no question. Like, the monster, there's nothing he can do to fight this monster. But and he's like, Rachel is dead. Like, it's got her. It's surrounding her. It's gonna eat her. There's nothing I can do. But I have a bird morph. Maybe I can morph and follow it so I can see where it goes. So he starts morphing into a harrier. And all of a sudden, the monster, the big tornado monster, stops what it's doing and backs off of Rachel. And Axe sees that it's like got its tendrils wrapped around her, but it wasn't eating her. It was like wrapping her up like a present. And he realizes, of course, this is meant to capture them, not kill them. And it must be attracted by morphing energy. So when he started morphing, it thought he was a new target. So he demorphs to Andalite and lets the thing take him because he doesn't know what, like, he's kind of in a bind right now. If he...
Not as much of a bind as Rachel.
I mean, she's not in a bind anymore, but now he is. And the thing takes him, and meanwhile, the big injured bear that just found someone who knows who she is all of a sudden alone again, with 2 missing paws.
Ooh.
Almost definitely 10 triggers. You can almost definitely power a clock with morphing energy.
Because it's exactly like a potato.
It's exactly like a potato. And also, like, I can't think what else you would use this amazing power for. So yeah, potato clock. That makes the most sense. So the bear wanders off into the forest walking on its hind legs because can't put its paws down. It's got just bloody stumps. And Axe, meanwhile, is taken to the Blade Ship. Ooh, do you remember what that is? Maybe not.
It's a ship that is shaped like a blade.
Yes, it's shaped like a double-headed battle axe. Potatoes are fully of banana cheesecake?
Yeah, you both missed the stream.
Yeah.
That happened. We can explain it later.
Was it today? Anyway.
Last night, yeah.
Yeah. During Extra Life. Mm-hmm. So he is taken up to the Blade Ship where Visor 3 is, and Visor 3's personal ship. And Visor 3 is like, haha! I've caught one! I knew that my Velik would bring me the Andalite bandits soon. And he's like, where are the... And see, everyone, it is an Andalite. Some of my lieutenants were telling me that you might be human and not Andalite. And I told them what fools they were. And as you see, I was right. Andalite!
So right.
Yeah.
So smart.
And I love your Visor voice.
Thank you. Axe is like, you fool, my uncles will destroy you. Trying to just, keep up the illusion.
Yeah.
And Visor's like, I'll catch your uncles one by one, Andalite. My Velik will catch them all. And he's like, Velik? And Visor's like, oh yeah. So see, it's a Yurk word. It means pet. So I kind of named it myself. It's my pet, Velik.
So he literally just named it Pet?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he still calls it my Velik?
Yeah. The name of the monster is Velik. Because it means pet.
But he just calls it my pet all the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on, I have a PowerPoint presentation here. Yeah. Then he goes on to explain to Axe everything about it. He's like, oh yeah, it actually came from this solar system, from the planet that has all the beautiful rings, the gas giant.
Saturn.
Axe doesn't say, it's called Saturn, you idiot, because he doesn't want the Visor to know that he's been hanging out with humans. And he's like, it senses energy and consumes the creature that emits it. And we lost a lot of good soldiers before we figured that out. But we were able to reprogram it or like mutate it, I don't know, to detect morphing energy. But it only eats the energy from this ship's engines. So it will catch the morpher and then bring them to me for its true food. How brilliant is that?
More brilliant if you hadn't just revealed all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and Axe is already gone.
Yeah. I mean, probably 10 triggers, yeah. And then he's like, lock him up! And they lock him up in a box made of ramonite, which is space metal that can turn clear if you want. So they have him in this opaque box, and then sometimes they can just make the front wall clear so that he can see out if they want to show him stuff.
Cute.
Yeah, adorable. And Axe is trapped and he doesn't know what to do because he can't, like, there's dozens of Hork-Bajir and Taxxons all aboard the ship, and he doesn't know, like he can't fight his way out, and he feels real bad because he's honor bound to kill Visor 3, and he was, like, real close to him before he got locked in this box, and he didn't strike. I mean, there were about 24 Hork-Bajir aiming Draken beams at him, but he's like, still, dishonor is terrible. Like, really hurts.
So
really
in
hard.
this cell that he's locked in, are there any like holes or anything?
Nope.
So he's just like completely locked in a fully metal like cage basically and he can't like morph into anything to get out. And they can turn one of the walls clear if they need to show him stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, like, as long as they don't let him out, there's no reason for him to get out.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to open it so that he can get out.
What? And he'll suffocate. No, I'm sure ramonite is a completely breathable metal.
That's what I mean, is like every time they have any of the Animorphs or Axe, the only reason they escape is because they fuck it up. Like, if they just, as soon as they got them, if they could just, like, not be such horrible fuck-ups, they would have killed all these kids forever ago.
Jessica, it's a perfectly sealed metal box. I don't know what you're worried about.
That's what I'm saying. It's a perfectly sealed metal box. They have literally no reason to open it. Like, not even to kill him. They can just let him suffocate in there or starve to death or whatever. But of course they're going to open it for something, and that's how he gets out.
There's no grass for him to eat.
It's because Axe eventually, when Visor 3's trying to explain his plan, Axe will be like, wait, what? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And then I'll be like, okay, hold on.
No, Visor 3 speaks in thought speak, so that probably won't work. Maybe.
Well, I don't know. Has he tried just being like, wait, what?
Yeah, the metal is too thick, like interfering with the thought speak.
Yeah.
I can't. Stop.
Did you say fleek? Did you say this is a fleek? Okay, so back to Cassie, who is at the mall looking for Rachel. She doesn't find Rachel, obviously, but she does see someone else, Chapman.
Oh, no.
The vice principal / high-ranking controller. And she's like, well, if I can't find Rachel, maybe I can do some surveillance on Chapman. So he's in the bookstore. She sneaks into, like, an employees-only restroom at the back of the bookstore and hides her clothes in the trash. So, they're always wearing their morphing outfit under their clothes. I don't want you to think any of them are, like, these, like, 12-year-olds are getting naked to morph.
No, we've discussed this before.
Okay. So she takes her outer clothing off and hides it underneath some trash in the waste bin. Don't know how she's going to get back for that, but that's fine. They don't have to go into it. And she morphs into a fly. And it's disgusting, but then it's done. And she flies and finds Chapman and, like, latches onto his collar underneath, like, where it's turned so that he can't see her. And waits, and she's starting to feel really stupid about this plan. Like, maybe he's just doing his human thing, browsing books. But then, fortunately, these two other people come up to him, and Chapman's like, you're late, walk and talk. And they walk and talk about how one of them is saying that people aren't really buying the tornado story, and they're having trouble keeping this suppressed. And Chapman's like, do you want to tell the Visor that his Valik is causing more problems than solutions? Because blah, blah, blah. And Cassie's like, Valik, okay. I know the monster has a name. And then he's like, listen, there's been talk of the Visor getting demoted to Visor 4 or even Visor 5 for what's been going on Earth. So if you fail him, take my advice. Kill yourselves before he can get to you. And she finds out one of these people is on the police force and one is, like, a reporter. So, and Chapman tells him, just keep spreading the tornado story. Humans will believe anything. Don't worry about it. And so Cassie's like, okay, it's called a Valik. Chapman calls it a morph hunter. And That's all, and nothing about Rachel. The Yeerks haven't taken Rachel that Chapman knows about, or that Chapman is mentioning to these two people in the middle of the mall for some reason. So they meet up back at the barn. They never found Axe. They never found Rachel. I think one of them mentioned seeing a grizzly bear walking on its hind legs in the woods, but maybe not, because that wouldn't make sense why they wouldn't think that's Rachel. Anyway.
Because when Rachel's a grizzly bear, she has paws.
Yeah, exactly.
That one didn't.
Yeah, that one didn't, so it couldn't have been Rachel.
Couldn't have been Rachel.
Grizzly bears are all over those woods. In the town. Let me just look some more. Program the Vleek to eat only the energy from this ship.
What a great song.
Yeah. So they figure out that between Cassie's information and the information that Jake and Marco and Tobias got based on being chased by the monster and then it flying away to the woods, and then Rachel and Axe not showing up, and the morph hunter thing, they realize that it's chasing morphing energy, and that it must be like, they were like, why would it, if it's got us dead to rights, why would it stop and go somewhere else, even if it's sensing different morphing energy? And Tobias is like, movement, it's just like a predator when it Sorry, I was reading Ten Trigger's comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you say it's just like a predator? I missed my cue.
Yeah. It's like a predator. It's designed to sense movement. If I see two mice running and one freezes and one keeps going, my hawk brain's going to chase the moving one. Like, it's harder to see things that are standing still. So if someone else starts morphing after, like, you're done morphing, you're not giving off the energy anymore, it'll chase off after the new target. And they're like, oh yeah, that sounds good. So what are we going to do? Cut back to Rachel, who finds a stream as a grizzly bear and puts her paws in it and starts thinking, maybe I can turn into a human again. And then she does. And she's like, would my human body have fingers and hands, or would I be just as mauled in my human form? Like, this pain would probably kill a human being. And she cries with relief when she sees fingers sprouting out of these stumps. This has got to be super terrifying. Because morphing itself is really disgusting. They talk all the time about how you can hear your bones snap and pop as they rearrange themselves, and your spine crunching as you shrink or grow. It doesn't hurt, but it's gross.
Quick question. I remember that when they morph into something smaller, the extra mass goes to Z space?
Yeah, they haven't learned that yet.
Oh,
but go on.
Oh. Do we know where they get the extra mass from when they morph into something bigger? Okay.
Probably from, who the fuck cares space.
You're right.
Maybe they borrow it from other people morphing small. Maybe if everyone stopped morphing.
Can you imagine how terrifying that would be if, you morph into something small and then someone else morphs into something big, and then you try to, demorph and your mass just isn't there because someone else is using it?
Yep.
I mean, probably just as terrifying as thinking about a spaceship smashing into your body, but, no part of morphing sounds good.
No. I mean, flying sounds cool.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, mm-mm. So Rachel doesn't know which way is civilization, but she decides to follow the stream, and eventually she gets to a subdivision, and
Oh, did she lose her clothes?
yes. I don't know if she had them and then the lady pushed her and she dropped them, or if they she never changed into them. Let's say that. She morphed into a grizzly bear and broke out of the basement. While the cabin was on fire. Okay. So she gets into the subdivision and she's it's just all these identical houses. She doesn't know. She's like, maybe I even live in one of these and I have no idea. And she briefly considered knocking on someone's door and being like, hi, I don't know who I am. Can I sleep on your couch? Because she's exhausted and hungry and whatever. And she's like, but no one would let me. And I look crazy. And maybe I am crazy. Maybe I'm a Yeerk. That lady kept screaming Yeerk at me. And I don't think normal people can change into grizzly bears and shit. But then she sees a house with no lights, and it's got a sold sign in the front yard. And she looks at it. It's got kind of high fences around. She sneaks around back and finds a tap, like for a hose, and turns it on and drinks a lot of water because she is very thirsty. And then she tries the back door, and it's locked. And she tries something else that's locked, and then she opens a window and manages to sneak in. And the place smells like fresh paint. And in the kitchen on the counter, there's a half-empty box of vanilla wafers with some paint fingerprints on it. So she figures the painters probably left them there. And she eats them all and curls up in a corner and tries to remember who she is. And she falls asleep and has like a whole bunch of flashes of like a ship coming down and faces around her, but she doesn't know who they are. And she's an ant, and she's a grizzly, and she's an elephant, and all this stuff. And then she wakes up to someone knocking on, like banging on the door saying, "This is the police, come out. Neighbors saw you sneaking in. Come out with your hands up." Thank God I live in the real estate market of the early 2000s.
I think your camera's getting fuzzier.
Good. I don't have a fix for that, unfortunately.
Okay.
Maybe my internet is like getting worse. Well,
that's all right. It looks
sorry.
like it got a little bit better already.
Oh, good.
So I don't
Just
know.
from thinking about it too much.
Oh, I think maybe just the farther you get from it, the fuzzier you look.
Let me get a little closer then, without knocking over my microphone. Okay. So Rachel's like, I don't know what to do because I know that I have enemies after me. Obviously, there's a very scary smoke monster after me. I don't know. Like, there's an alien that knows what might be my name and that like recognized me apparently, and I don't know who to trust or what's going on or if I'm a yerk or what a yerk is or if I'm supposed to be some sort of bird person. So she's like, I don't want to get caught by the cops. So she remembers something that she dreamed about and decides to try that. She's gonna morph into something a little too big for the cops to handle. Real big. real big.
Why not
like,
smaller?
Is it a whale?
It's an elephant.
Uh-huh.
And then
You were
she'll
so close
be
earlier
like,
when you guessed
"Hey,
elephant."
International Elephant Police," and they'll be like, "Oh, very good."
I was
On
going to
your
say
way.
elephant at first, but you kept saying like real big, and I was like, oh, is this finally the whale plan that I had in like book 2? Because I'd be down for that. Because the way you said it made it seem like I would really like it.
Oh no, I won't spoil anything.
But also, why not go small and then sneak away?
Right.
Later she finds later she says we can morph small things to someone else. So I presumably she doesn't realize, even though she had a dream about being an ant.
Pen Sugar said, "International Elephant Police, I'm taking over this investigation." Amazing.
So she starts to morph into an elephant. Meanwhile, Jake and Marco and Cassie and Tobias are all having a meeting at the barn, and they were discussing like the leak and what it can do, and like it must be hunting morphing. And they go outside because it's almost 9, and Jake and Marco both like, I gotta get home. And Cassie's mom is like, Cassie, that show you like is on. Do you want me to tape it for you? And Cassie's like, yeah, I'll be in a second. And then they look up at the full moon, and then they see a dust cloud forming, and they realize the Valik is hunting someone. So it has to be Rachel or Axe. And they're like, we have to go and find whoever it is and save them. And Cassie's like, how can we get there? Like, we can't morph into birds and fly there because that'll draw it here and it'll tear up my house. And Marco's like, are there keys in that? And he points to her dad's really old, battered pickup truck. And Cassie's like, no, absolutely not. And Marco's like, do you have a better idea? And Jake's like, let's do it. So these 12 to 13-year-olds basically steal this car.
Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They jump on in. And
no, Jessica, it's an Andalite, kill it.
Look at how fearless it is, though you are so much bigger than it.
So fearless.
Is it playing with the predator?
No.
Oh.
She just wants attention.
Oh.
Okay,
Um,
go on. Sorry.
let's steal from your dad, who trusts me. Good one, 10 triggers. So, so Rachel, meanwhile, back to Rachel. Man, a lot of jumping around in this one. So sorry. Rachel is halfway between human. She's more elephant than human, but she's still partially human.
Honestly, who among us isn't more elephant than human?
That's a good point.
Real true. We could all join the International Elephant Police if we really put our minds to it.
And our trunks to it.
Really put our must to it.
Ew. I forgot about that.
Super gross.
Must. So she is almost done morphing when all of a sudden the back wall of the house is just gone with this really loud wood chipper type sound. And there's Mouth Tornado, aka the Valik, coming after her. And she's like, well, gotta go. And just sort of pops the door like a champagne cork as she runs through it, as well as most of the door frame and the wall. And she runs out as mostly an elephant, but with like little pink ears and blonde hair.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gross.
Don't like that.
Yeah. And just starts running down the street, trumpeting. And she is... And then she hears gunshots, and she doesn't know if the police officers are shooting at her or at the Mouth Tornado.
I so hope they're shooting at the tornado.
Yeah. But either way, it doesn't seem to be doing any good. And she runs, and she realizes that it's tearing up everything and that these houses are occupied. She goes down an alley, and there's like a parked Winnebago between her and the thing, and then all of a sudden there's not a parked Winnebago between her and the thing anymore. Just a tire rolling down the street. And she's like, I can't go any further without destroying someone's like house that they might be living in where they might die. And so she turns around to face it, and it, just like before, it wraps her up in these tendrils and starts to pick her up to carry her to the blade ship and gets her like a foot off the ground and then drops her. And then tries again and gets her like a foot, maybe 2 feet off the ground and then drops her.
She's too heavy for it?
She's too heavy for this thing to pick up. And all of a sudden, she hears squealing tires and someone saying, Rachel! And then the Valik starts to go away. Meanwhile, back to Marco's perspective, he's driving the car because he has the most driving experience because he played a video game a lot.
Makes sense.
It turns out it's not as easy as it is in video games, which who could have known?
Who could have?
He hit about 6 trash cans on the way and ended up on the sidewalk for a while.
Nice.
And Jake is like, I'm going to kill you when this is over. And they pull up to the elephant and they see it turn to face the monster and that the monster can't lift it. And they're like, it's got a weakness. It can't lift elephants. Which, really, that's a weakness that most things share, I would say.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Average weakness. And then they go into this plan that they have, which is Jake gets in the back of the truck and starts morphing into a tiger. Cassie gets out to go, like, talk to and help Rachel, and Marco drives off with Jake in the back of the truck, and the Valik chasing them. At one point, Marco is like... Marco gets on the highway. A lot of other drivers get real mad at Marco on the highway. Jake is really slowly morphing to tiger to keep drawing the Valik out. It's gaining on them, so Marco decides to go off-road for a bit,
Sure.
which is just a great idea.
Yeah,
ends up in the woods. Jake says, "Okay, I'm jumping out. Go as far as you can, and like give it like 5 minutes, and then you start morphing, to keep it going back and forth between them and try to wear it out." Is basically their plan. So Jake is a tiger in the woods. He's in his element, and I'm gonna check the chat real quick. You don't think that the script for Sharknado was stolen from this book? Could be. I mean, maybe. Although that movie was more of a Sharkicane.
Yeah, it was definitely not named correctly.
Yeah. And I would have liked Sharkicane. Anyway.
Sharkicane is good.
Yeah. Just like Largeberg. But that's neither here nor there. So Jake is running, and then he turns around and darts underneath the Velik before it can grab him. He's like, let's see how fast you can turn, motherfucker. I'm putting a lot more curse words in these kids' books than I remember there actually being.
It's fine. I have a question, though. Why didn't they all just turn into elephants?
Rachel's actually the only one with an elephant morph, if you can believe it.
I can't believe it because they never just.
Wait, I thought Cassie turned into an elephant that one time to support Rachel when she was Elephant Police.
She was just there as a human in the background, like giving her moral support.
Because they don't all just like go around touching every animal they see so they can morph
Which is
later.
Crazy.
Yeah. Also, they got separated in the zoo, and so Marco and Jake didn't have a chance to morph the elephant.
And they couldn't ever go back to the zoo?
No. Why would they? Tobias got trapped as a bird after that, so even if he had an elephant morph, he never used it. And then Cassie, I guess, just didn't wanna. Weird. I guess she didn't figure, like, we need a lot of animals. Maybe she's just like, we can only morph into one. Because she played the video games and didn't realize that you could do multiple morphs.
I find it difficult to believe that with as many things as have happened, they don't understand at this point that like they just need as many morphs as they can get. Because it seems like every book there's some new scheme that they get up to, and they're like, you know what we need to do is get this one very specific animal so that we can morph into it, so that we can all go sneak in this weird way.
Yeah.
Which is actually surprising because it seems like most of the things that they do could be covered by like the same like 3 animals.
Yeah.
But they still try to do something different every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To keep the book covers interesting.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
Also, it's uncommon that they have trouble finding the animal to morph. Maybe in later books it's more common.
Well, but I mean, the thing is that they wouldn't have to go, like, find the new animal every time if they just, like, in their everyday lives were like, oh, is that a fucking garden snake? Better acquire it real quick in case I ever need a garden snake more.
Yeah. And that way you have it.
And that way you have it.
Yeah. Actually, in book 8, which we haven't read yet, there's a part where Axe gets bit by a snake, but it gets him on the hoof so it doesn't, like, hurt him. And he pins it with his tail, and Tobias is like, yeah, just get rid of it. And Axe starts acquiring it, and Tobias is like, why do you want a snake morph? And Axe is like, that way I have it.
Yeah.
Turned out useful later, as you'll hear in that episode when it goes up. Anyway.
That way you have it.
And that way you have it. So, I forget where I was. Oh, Jake's a tiger in the woods, running at the Velik. And it can't turn very fast, but it can chase very fast, and tigers are not built for endurance. So Jake's like running as fast as he can and zigging and zagging and like giving it a run for its money, trying to wear it out. But eventually he just like climbs a tree and is stuck. And the Velik, instead of...
Oh no, he's a cat stuck in a tree.
Yeah. Instead of descending from above, the Velik is like chewing up the bottom of the tree to get to him, because why not? And then it gets distracted and goes away, because meanwhile, Marco, he's morphing a gorilla. Because it's the only animal he has that can also drive, and he wants to keep driving. So,
oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So mid-drive, he's morphing a gorilla to keep drawing the Velik on, and it works.
Shut up, it works.
Of course it works.
So, okay, drawing the Velik away works. Driving as a gorilla, there's no way that works, right?
I mean, gorillas have hands and feet, right?
But like the several minutes long process of morphing into a gorilla while driving.
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious that works?
Yeah, it works.
At least he wasn't texting.
Ah.
All right.
Distracted driving kills, morphing while driving saves?
That's what I'm taking away from this, yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry. It doesn't work for very long.
10 triggers, same. He said if I was a gorilla driving a truck, I would just have the middle finger up all the way down the highway.
No one's going to mess with you. Or if they do, they'll regret it very quickly.
Yeah. You're gorilla.
So meanwhile, Cassie goes to Rachel and is like, Rachel, it's me, Cassie. And Rachel's like, who are you? What's going on? Who am I? Am I Rachel? Yes, that sounds right. That feels right. Rachel, me, yes. Cassie, you. Who? What are you? Oh, I forgot. After she's talking normal. That's just the gist of her thoughts.
Is she an elephant anymore now, though?
She's still an elephant. She's using thought speech.
Okay.
And Cassie is like, I'm your friend. I'm here to help. We're all Animorphs. I forgot to mention this, but when Rachel had her dream when she was in the house and she had all these flashes of animals that she woke up screaming the word Animorph, which seems just bad.
Morphimal. No, wait.
I also wake up very often screaming the word Animorphs.
Same.
Yeah. Who doesn't? Because it brings so much joy to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
Squid Pro Row. So Cassie's like, we're Animorphs. I'm your friend. Blah, 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 all this stuff. And Rachel's like, Cassie, I trust you. What do I do? And so Cassie's like, I'm going to ride your back. We're going to go to the woods. And then I'm going to morph to draw this monster away. And Rachel's like, wait, hang on. I have a great, great quote that I just want to read for you verbatim once I find it. Also, animal fact, elephants can go 25 miles an hour. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mostly they weigh in between 7,000 and 13,000 pounds, but the largest elephant ever found weighed at 22,050 pounds.
Poof.
How do you measure that, I wonder? You need a real big scale. Ramonite. Oh, here we go. So Cassie says it chases morphing energy, so we're morphing every 5 minutes or so, hoping to wear it out. And Rachel's like, how do you know it's going to wear out? And she's like, we don't. And Rachel says, this isn't much of a plan. Are you Animorphs always this hopeless? And Cassie says, pretty much. So...
That's what I've been saying!
Only amnesiac Rachel has the guts to say in book how it really is.
Oh my god!
Rachel.
Yeah.
And then when she's this whole time.
Yeah. And then when she gets
like,
her memory back, she's like, well, this is all a great plan.
Yeah.
By all of these.
Yeah. She also says a hopeless fight is the best kind, which is how Cassie knows that she's still Rachel in there, so. Okay. Anyway, Cassie's like, I'm going to hop off your back and morph. And Rachel's like, no, just stay on my back. Maybe it'll try to lift both of us and it won't be able to because I'm an elephant. And Cassie's like, oh, good point. I'll morph into something small then. And that's when Rachel's like, we can morph small things? And Cassie's like, oh, yeah. And she starts to morph into a squirrel. She says it just like that. Actually, it sounds like Barry White saying, oh, yeah. Oh, my. That's George Takei. That's my George Takei.
It's pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah.
So Cassie starts morphing into a squirrel on Rachel's back. Meanwhile, Marco is leading the Valik away. Meanwhile, on the ship, Axe's self, the front of it goes clear, and the Vizard's like, check it out. We got cameras on this thing. I mean, we have a view of the Valik chasing its next victim. And he shows him this tiger in the woods. What?
I was just like that he went in there to be like, hey, check it out. Like, look at us.
Yeah.
Also, you see the picture on this bad boy? Brand new plasma. That's what I
got. No, he's like, so he sees the Valik chewing up this tree to get to this tiger, and then all of a sudden the Valik is called away, and the Vizard's like, what the fuck? Someone explain to me why this is happening. Why didn't the Valik go in for the kill? And another controller is like, perhaps because it chases morphing energy, it was distracted by another morpher, happening. And Wizard 3 is like, get a lock on the Valik, find where it's going, and a Taxon speaks in Taxon language, and Wizard 3 just cuts him dead. It's like, this creature says that it's hard to track the Valik. Does anyone else think it's going to be hard to track the Valik? And no one answers. And then they clean up this mess, and 2 other Taxons come and eat that Taxon, because that's how Taxons do.
Gross.
Always hungry they are. And he's like, get me a lock on where the Valik is going, and get some bug fighters in there. to make sure that if we can't capture them, we kill them. Which seems like a pretty good plan. Bug fighters are like the spaceships that fire Draken beams. And he's like, and now make the wall, not transparent anymore. I'm done I'm done with knowing words because I'm angry. And he walks away and the wall goes dark. So now Axe is in a sealed room with completely opaque walls, unable to be seen. And then
and he knows
feels...
that the thing is attracted to morphing energy? Oh
no. I mean, yes, but...
Oh, that would have been so good. Oh,
well,
sorry.
hang on. But then he feels something, and he's like, slaps it. He's like, oh, God, these fleas. Wait a minute. Jake morphed a flea once, and he's only a human. Surely I can do it. And so he eventually, after a lot of trial and error, manages to grab the flea. And he's like, we don't really have anything this small in the Andalite homeworld. Maybe Visitor 3 won't realize, that I'm this small. And so he acquires it, and then he morphs into the flea and just hides, waiting for, the visitor to check in on him again and see what he thinks is an empty cell. Pretty good plan, except that he's still trapped on a ship in the body of a flea, which is not the best position to be in, all things considered. So back to Earth, Marco is in a truck running away from the Valik. Cassie is a half of a squirrel on the back of an elephant that is running across a highway, and then all of a sudden, all of these things collide. The gorilla, distracted by the thing that's chasing it, does not see the elephant in front of it, crashes into it, rolls several times, gets a very bad head injury, and now there's a Valik and 3 morphing things, or morph-capable people. One of them halfway morphed, one of them Marco, and one of them Rachel. I guess the other one is Cassie. I mean, I didn't have to say. Cassie is halfway morphed, though, is the point I wanted to make. And she realizes, and then above them come these bug fighters, and one of them shoots Rachel with its Draken beam, and things is just all bad all around. She's not dead, though. She just got burned. And then Cassie realizes this is what her dream was about. Like, she can keep morphing and make the Valik take her, or else it'll take one of the others. And she doesn't keep morphing, and the Valik takes Marco, and she feels real bad about it.
Dang.
Yeah.
Um,
That's unexpected.
Yeah. So she, they get away from the bug fighters somehow. Like you do between cutscenes.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the Valik is coming back to the blade ship with a nice little treat for the visitor so that it can get its yum good engine nuggets or whatever it eats.
That seems right. Yum good.
Yum good.
Yeah, yum good. Whatever.
And it comes up, and Visitor 3 is like, yes, blank or transparentify the Ramonite so that I want to see these two meet. And so the cage is transparent, and Axe is just like waiting there as a flea real close to the front of the cage, waiting for it. And the Visitor's like, where did it go? You fools! What have you done? And then feels the cage door open, and he jumps. Axe does. And Visitor 3 is like, no, you fool, don't open it! He probably morphed into something small! But it's too late. Axe is on someone. And he is no longer in the cage. Marco is a gorilla on the blade ship, and that's where they are. That's where they're at.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When Axe morphs, does he still have fleas on him?
That's a good question.
Like, when he demorphs, will he still have the fleas? Because it seems like the fleas should have gone away after the last time he morphed.
Well, Harriers can also get fleas, so maybe they stay on him when he morphs into like a bird. Because Tobias gets fleas.
Well, so
we don't go into
in
that.
That case, like, he just morphed into a flea. Did all the other fleas just like fall off of him as he was morphing, and now there are like 20 fleas in this little cell?
Maybe. Yeah, probably. It's a good question. I don't know. I never thought about that.
They're all following him. He turns around and it's just like 100 fleas. Just like, hey, where are we going?
Yeah. What's going on? Isn't it weird when the flesh underneath us melts like wax and shifts into new positions and then becomes feathers? Anyway, more blood for me, please. That's what fleas think.
I like to imagine too that like as it's happening, they all jump together and then they like land back down on it.
Yeah. Everyone, get ready! It's another weird one.
Oh, now I like to think that too.
I should mention also when Rachel got hit by the car, it like hurt her back leg real bad, and she fell and she hit her head.
Oh no! Did she get double amnesia?
No, it seemed to sort of cure her amnesia, like
Two
all head
amnesias
injuries.
make not amnesia.
Yeah, I mean
everyone knows that.
she's still a bit fuzzy on a few things, but she's got a lot more memories now, and they all get away, and Marco is we're in Marco's perspective, and Axe says, and he hears Axe thought speaking privately to him and saying, "Marco, are you like? Do you see a taxon at a control panel?" And he's like, "Dude, there's like 20 taxons here, and all of them are at control panels." He's like, "Okay, cool. Anyone will do. Do you see them with their hand like pressing against the small square panel?" And he's like, "Yeah, they've all got one hand pressed against." He's like, "Okay, great. Listen, I'm gonna do something real quick. What you need to do is just get to that panel, put your hand on it, and think open hatch. That's it. Just keep thinking open hatch." And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" And Axe's like, "Well, I'm on Visor 3, and the Valik is like here, and it's drawn to morphing energy. So he starts demorphing very slowly on Visor 3's back, and the Valik turns back into Mouth Tornado and goes for him, like wraps him up, like ready for more yum yum engine kibble or whatever I called it before.
Engine nuggets.
Engine nuggets. And Marco fights off some Hork-Bajir and goes to it. And meanwhile, Visor 3 is like, "Water! Get me water!" If you have seen pelvic thrusts. Marco gets to the panel and puts his hand on it and thinks open hatch, and it works.
Oh yeah, it like tried to like auto mod 10 triggers comment about fuck you.
Nice.
So I added it back. But I don't know what you guys saw. So anyway.
Yeah.
Go on.
So the hatch opens and Marco realizes he's like, "How will this help if we get sucked into space?" But he realizes they're actually still in the atmosphere. And he comes up with sort of a plan. Then we shift to Axe's perspective, who is slowly demorphing on Visor 3, and he feels the Valik wrapping the Visor up because it doesn't know exactly where Axe is, and it sees this thing there, so it's like perfect, and grabs it. And he hears Visor 3 yelling for water, and then Axe remorphs back to flea size and jumps into the like swirling dust cloud of Valikdom. And he actually, really quickly, one of the particles gets impaled on his... Fleas are, like, covered in tiny little spiky armor. Like, spikes on their arms and legs and stuff. And it gets impaled, and he realizes it's a tiny little bug like him, basically. Only it's covered in these little antennae, like satellite dishes, with a bunch of tiny wings. And he realizes it's a bunch of individual creatures that swarm to pick up food or to get, to catch the morphers.
And he acquires one?
Yeah.
No, you can't acquire something unless you're in your natural form. Unfortunately. Yeah. It's a bummer. No, he's like, "Get away from me," and kicks it off. And then all of a sudden, water droplets start hitting everything and like disabling the Valik, and he realizes that this is a weakness the Valik has. And then he's like, "Okay, great. It hunts morphs, and water will defeat it, or water will disable it." So, and he's like, "Marco, where are you?" And Marco's like, "I'm kind of busy dealing with some Hork-Bajir." And he's like, "Well, stamp your feet real quick so I can find you." So Marco does, and Axe hops onto him, and he's like, "All right, now jump out the hatch." And they do, like 2 miles in the air. Now, this book kind of plays fast and loose with the speed that morphing takes, because basically both of them demorph and then remorph into birds before they hit the ground.
Oh my
Which
god.
definitely shouldn't work because I feel like this is a thing that happened before when they were falling.
Yeah,
And I specifically said, why don't they demorph and remorph? And it was going to take too long, was the
yeah,
answer.
yeah. Yep.
Damn.
But they manage it like inches from the ground. They turn it into a really steep dive and get out. Um, and everyone's alive. And Jake went home that night. He got in around like midnight and was immediately grounded. No Sega. Gotta clean the garage. No TV, etc., etc. And he's thinking like Axe is gone, Marco is gone. Like we can't ever morph again, or this thing will get us. We're done. Like there's nothing we can do. And he feels bad because he almost feels relieved that they can't do anything else. And then he wakes up the next morning because someone is saying booga booga booga, and it's Marco, and he's fine. And he's like, "Hey man, come on, we've got a counterattack now." And Jake's like, "What? Huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, me and Axe escaped. We're great. It's all good." He's like, "Well, I'm grounded, so I can't." He's like, "Oh yeah, your dad mentioned that." He's like, "Don't worry, Tom's not home. I already checked." He's like, "Your dad mentioned that, and I kind of got the impression that if you cleaned the garage, he would be willing to let you go out for a while, and also he would be like super happy if you did it." And Jake's like, "Well, yeah, my mom's been trying to get him to clean the garage for a month, so he's really happy to foist it off on me." He's like, "So give me 3 hours to clean the garage, and then we'll meet up and counterattack." And that's what he does. So then they all meet up in Cassie's barn. Rachel's back to her old self mostly. She's still got a few fuzzy bits, but now they're ready to counterattack. And Cassie is feeling really guilty about letting the Valik take Marco. And Marco's like, "No, it's fine. We're going steady now. It's great. Ha ha ha. I'm Marco." But Cassie still feels guilty about it, and Marco doesn't know what to do, so he just cracks a lot of jokes because he's like, "I don't know. I already told you it was fine, and I survived, and everything's great."
So who is Marco going steady with?
The Valik. He's like, "The Valik picked me up, and now we're going steady."
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joke.
It was a little joke. A little Marco... is there a word for joke that starts
And
with
it's funny because nobody likes Marco.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a love interest.
That's true. But he is cute. A lot of books mention how cute he is. So, surely he'll have one eventually. Anyway, Marco moments. Just one of my little Marco moments. Thanks, 10 Triggers. Cassie says, "I have a plan." And she tells them the plan. And they're all like, "This is a bad plan. You can't do this." And she's like, "It's the only plan that'll work." And they're like, "All right, I guess we're doing it then." She's like, "And I have to be the one to do it." And they're like,
Rachel's just on board with the bad plans now. She's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Rachel's just totally like, "Yeah, why not? Hopeless fights are the best fights." So Cassie's like, "I have to be the one to do it. It's my plan. I need to redeem myself." And they're like, "No, you don't. You're fine." Like, but she's like, "Also, I'm the best morpher. I'm the only one who can pull this off in this time frame." And they're like, "I mean, when you're right, you're right." So, here's the plan. Also, Tobias slept through the whole thing. The whole Valik capturing Marco and the whole morph chasing thing, because it was nighttime and he's a hawk. And they came up with a plan after he flew away from Cassie's barn. So he also is feeling pretty guilty. But
Ooh, rough.
he is flying over the ocean, which he hates because there's no thermals over the ocean. But he's looking for something important. And eventually he finds it, and he flies back to the beach where the Animorphs are, and he's like, "Cassie, I found one." And he tells her where it is. And she's like, "Okay." And they all get into the water and morph into, and like swim out far enough that they're not like, they go in at a place that's like not well populated, and then they morph into dolphins. And the Valik comes, but it's keeping its distance because they're underwater, and it doesn't like water. It can't, like, water incapacitates it. And they swim out.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Or rather, I want to try to guess real quick what the plan is.
Yeah.
Is the plan that they found like a really, really big underwater animal, like a gigantic whale or a big squid or something, and that they all morphed into dolphins to go, and then Cassie, because she's the best morpher, is going to demorph underwater, hold her breath, acquire the big gigantic animal, probably a whale, and then like get the Valik to pick her up as a whale, like, and sprout water out of its water hole, blowhole to destroy it?
You are so close. You're halfway there.
It
You're
couldn't
gonna like this plan even better.
pick her up though, because she's heavy.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Wait. Second guess. Sorry.
uh,
She acquires a whale and then does the thing that I've been saying, where she then morphs into a bird, goes super, super high up, gets the Valik to come close, and then just like morphs into a whale and splashes down and splashes water on it. Splash damage.
Splash 'em.
again, very close, even
Okay.
closer this time. I'll tell
I'll
you.
stop guessing.
They don't morph at all. They just all buy a bunch of squirt guns.
Brilliant. Not every problem requires morphing.
No. What happens is they all decide to be dolphins forever, and they move to the sea, and the Valik can never get them.
Oh,
Okay,
cute.
that's a pretty good plan.
Yeah. And Tobias
Yeah.
just flies above them.
Yep. And they're all Nothlets together. No, what happens is this. Axe isn't with them because he couldn't be an Andalite on the beach. So it's just the core four, plus Tobias flying like cover, but he's on the beach right now or he's on land basically. And they get to this whale, and the whale says "little ones" in its whale voice, because whales talk to dolphins, but
Cool.
not like with thought speak, just like with pictures. And Cassie thinks, "Great one, don't dive." And then she demorphs, and the other animorphs around her as dolphins like are propelling her and like keeping her upright. And she's not under the water, but she's like her head's just above water, and the Valik's not coming for her because too close to water.
Mm-hmm.
And she acquires the whale. Next step, obviously, Katie's favorite plan. She morphs into a cockroach,
Nice.
basically staying underwater for the last bit of the morph. And then, little ones, do you have some time? I just bought the first 2 seasons of Chuck. She morphs into a cockroach, and Tobias flies her up and up and up and up as high as he can until he can't fly her up no more. Meanwhile, the other animorphs are like half demorphing and remorphing and staying under the water to keep the Valik occupied so it's not chasing Tobias. And then he's like, "I can't get you any higher." And she's like, "Here I go." And falls off and very quickly demorphs to human. And then now real quick, morphing is exhausting in itself. She morphed into a dolphin, swam pretty far out to this whale, acquired the whale, morphed again, or demorphed, which is exhausting, morphed again into a cockroach. Now she's demorphing into a human, and she's so tired. And the Valik is coming for her.
Nice.
What?
I said nice.
Yeah. And it's got her. It wraps her up nice and good. But she's morphing into this whale, and nothing's going to stop her from morphing into this whale. She taps into this sort of deep ancestral whale knowledge that gives her strength. That one's in the book. That's not me making that up. And it cuts to, I think, Rachel's perspective, where she's like, should we keep, when they see Cassie starting to fall, they're like, should we keep distracting it? It's like, and Jake's like, no, it's Cassie's game now. And they're like, she's falling too fast, it's not going to work. And then Mark was like, no, the Valik is slowing her down as it grabs her in the air. And then all of a sudden it's like, the Valik is falling a lot faster now, and a lot faster now, as this whale, which is so much heavier than an elephant, falls into the water, completely drenching it and eliminating the threat. And then they're all like, Cassie, are you okay? Because did the fall hurt you? Probably, because it's a very high fall and whatever. And then she dives down 50 feet and then flaps her big whale tail and is like, Visor, I washed your dog for you. Yeah, suck it, Cassie.
Nice.
I'm Cassie, bitch.
I'm Cassie, bitch. Redeemed from earlier when I thought I was a coward. So, anyway, off in the distance, you hear the Visor's scream of rage. No, I'm just kidding. That's just how it ends. They're like, we did it. And, Cassie starts singing a whale song.
Oh.
They're like, oh, what does it mean? And she's like, it doesn't really have words, but if it did, it would be hope. And then Spock records that sound and brings it back to his time and plays it for the space whales. Star Trek? No? Okay.
Yeah. No. This is something.
A New Hope? No, that's Star Wars. The quest for... What's Star Trek for?
The quest for more money.
The quest for more money.
Yeah, the,
When they go back
the
in,
space whale song.
when they have to go back in time and record whale songs. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that great Star Wars pull?
Yeah, it took me a minute to get it because you cut out when you said Spock, so all I heard was recorded it and took it back to his time for space whales. And then by the time I got it, I was already over it.
Fair enough. I feel like most of my jokes are like that. So what'd y'all think of this one? Star Trek 4, So Very Tired.
It was pretty good. I feel like the whole amnesia thing was unnecessary and weird. And I guess, Gilligan's Island is an okay place to get all of your knowledge about how amnesia works.
I feel like it's not. I feel like it's every '90s TV show had an amnesia episode where you get hit on the head and get amnesia, and then get hit on the head and you're all better.
Yeah. Coconut Falls. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, that's pretty much it. I just feel like I feel like the amnesia thing didn't really contribute anything to the story, and it was also weird.
It added an extra element of danger, plot development. No, not development for sure.
Of driving the plot a certain direction, of plot movement.
Yeah. And it did it about as well as Marco drove that car.
So, the Blade ship.
Mm-hmm.
About how big?
Not as big as a dome ship, but bigger than a bug fighter.
Excuse me, let me rephrase that. How big in relation to a football field?
I'd say probably like one football field, maybe a little smaller.
Okay.
Maybe like 3/4 of a football field.
So a dome ship would be a football field?
A dome ship would be like 3 football fields.
Okay.
It's real big. Like the dome itself is at least a football field wide in diameter.
Okay.
And then there's the bridge, which is like a stick.
So what I'm wondering is, and probably you can see where this is going because I feel like this is the one suggestion I always have. They all get captured and get taken up into the Blade ship, and then they all morph into whales, and the weight takes the ship out of orbit and makes it crash into the ground, and then the Visor is dead.
I didn't see that you were going there with it. I guess I can see maybe a couple of possible flaws with that plan.
I mean, I can see a ton of flaws with that plan, but like no more flaws than I see with any of their plans.
Yeah.
More flaws. Get it?
More flaws. Yeah, my bad.
I guess their main thing is like they want to live to fight another day. And I think if you remember from book 7, The Stranger, when they're eaten by the taxon, right? Mm-hmm. Spoiler. But they start to demorph inside the taxon, and then they all start to suffocate until Axe uses his tail to cut open the taxon and free them. Mm-hmm. And if they're in the Blade ship... So they do it
from on top of the ship, then.
Yes. But also, how? And how?
Morph into birds, fly up there, land on top of the ship, demorph, remorph into whales, weigh it down, right out of orbit. Not orbit, right out of wherever it is in the atmosphere. So here's the thing, like, it's not a perfect plan, and I know that, but like what I'm trying to get to here is that like now that the plan that I suggested several books ago about turning into a whale and just like crushing it has worked, we've seen that it works, why not just do that every book now? You don't have to answer this. You didn't write these books. These books have been written. Like, they're written and they're old. Like, there's no way to change it. All I'm saying is, like, now they've seen that this is the perfect plan with literally no drawbacks. Why not just use it for everything?
Okay, well,
Remember how they wanted to snatch that guy? Instead of snatching him, just, like, turn into a bird, fly really high, morph into a whale, and just, like, smash down on top of everything. Destroy the whole operation.
But you would die, though. You get that, right? Like, whales aren't meant to smash into forests. I don't even know if they're meant to smash into the water, but...
To be fair, though, you would be terribly injured and you would die after a little while. You could probably demorph quick enough before you died as a whale.
Maybe.
So even
Maybe,
even
but
if you don't want to do this
really.
plan, even just like morph into a bird, fly onto the roof of a building, morph into a whale, crush it. All I'm saying is that it's literally the perfect plan. Yes, there are some flaws, but again, every single plan they've come up with ever has been horribly, horribly flawed, and it's definitely no worse than any of those. All I'm saying is that my plan is the best. And I've been saying it for several books now, and now that they finally used it and it worked perfectly, I feel like that's all they should do.
I'm on board,
This
especially the plans that have to do with all of them morphing into some kind of battle morph and rushing into a place.
mhm.
Those seem like they could be taken care of by one of them going up on the roof, turning into a whale, crushing everything
Crush.
inside, and then just turning back into a human and running away.
Yes. Um couple
Marco can
things.
show up as a gorilla with a truck for backup, if that makes you feel better.
Oh yeah,
Couple
what happened with
things.
the truck? Did they like take it back to the dad? And the dad was like, "What the fuck happened to my truck?"
No, the dad thinks the truck was stolen. I
Okay.
mean, it was, but like stolen by not his kids.
Huh.
Oh, that's sad.
And yeah, it got stolen and wrecked. And in book 9, he has a new truck.
Hmm.
Go.
Yeah. But okay, so I'm no structural engineer, but you can't guarantee. Okay, a couple of things. They are trying to limit collateral damage, and I feel like crushing a whole building is sort of like the definition of collateral damage. Like they're gonna get more than just their intended targets. They will probably die. If they don't die, possibly while they're demorphing, the Yerks will bring their ships and be like, "Gotcha. Hey, you're a human. What? Put a Yerk in you." Um, 10 triggers.
That's fine.
Uh,
I just feel like every time they've ever come up with a plan, it's been not the right plan.
Yeah.
and this was the right plan. But this was the right plan for this situation when dealing with the creature that doesn't really have a mind of its own, that is designed to capture morph energy and can be killed with water.
Okay, so then in that case, yes, this was the right plan for this situation. Why can't they just always come up with the right plan for the situation they're in?
Yeah.
Every
God, I
time
wish I
it's
knew.
some random bullshit.
Mm,
I
yeah.
just feel very strongly that every book would be made better by the addition of whales.
I, I I don't disagree. Whales are great. And now Cassie has a whale morph. I don't know if any like the rest of them stayed dolphins, so they didn't really acquire the whale, and I assume the whale just like kept on swimming after they were done with it.
After the werewolf's like, shit, that dolphin just turned into a person and then into me.
Yeah. The whale just noped right on out of there. Like, oh, not today.
um, I am sure that you've answered this before, and I'm sure the answer is no. But can they acquire each other? Like, can she turn into a whale and then they acquire the whale from her?
I don't know if it's ever actually addressed in the books. It probably is, but they've never done that. So I don't think you can acquire DNA from someone who's morphed into that thing.
Oh, I thought we had talked about that too before because that's definitely something I think about every time one of them is like, oh, I'll morph into this thing since I have the morph. Like, why
Right.
don't you just all have it?
Yeah.
Every time.
No,
Just all morph it. It would make sense if they can't do it that way.
yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah, it would
sure they
make more
can't.
sense.
If I find in future books like a specific line, I will highlight it that says that. Just like when I found it saying like you can't morph straight from one morph into another.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look for it. But to the best of my recollection, you cannot acquire someone's morphed form.
Yeah.
You have to acquire the animal directly.
It's easy to criticize, but you're not on the front lines of this shit, okay?
Thank you, 10
That's
triggers.
very true, 10 triggers. I also feel like I don't know. I was thinking about this book the other day, this series rather, and just like being really, really mad about all of it.
Yeah, that sounds right. Sounds like you. You just want to turn into a great big mouth tornado and scoop it all up. Mulch it.
There was definitely a point. I think I was like brushing my teeth, and I just like put my toothbrush down and was like, "Just tell a fucking adult." Like, Seriously, like,
Who
I
can
don't
they
even care.
trust?
Put them in a cage for 3 days so you can make sure they're not yerked, and then be like, "Hey, Dad, sorry that I had to fuck you up for 3 days, but like, here's all the shit that's going down. Don't
Yeah.
believe me? Now I'm a goddamn whale. Believe me now?" Like,
Believe me now.
or like, get the dog robot guy back. And like, I get that he doesn't
Oh
want to
my
be part of the
God.
fight, but he doesn't have to be part of the fight. He can just be the planner. He can just be the one that, like, every book they're like, "Hey, here's what's going down. Help us strategize. You're a robot. You got, compute cycles or whatever."
Yeah,
I
a lot of
just, like-
compute cycles.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened yet either, though.
I just, like, was so mad about it constantly.
I know. So what you're saying is that you were brushing your teeth and then you put your toothbrush down and just said, "Fucking Animorphs."
Basically, it was actually more like brushing my teeth, like, while thinking about Animorphs, and then I just sort of went, "Tell a fucking adult."
It would be nice. You don't even know how crazy shit's gonna get in future books, though. Like, they meet so many adults that they could probably tell,
No.
but I won't go too far into it because I don't want to spoil the
It's gonna be
surprise.
upsetting.
10 Triggers had a good idea. Although,
Yeah.
if a monster, if like a monster is slowly growing on the podium at a presidential press conference, probably the Secret Service would shoot it, right?
Oh, for sure.
I would imagine it would get shot right away.
Definitely. Also, then they could very easily, like, I feel like at the point where, like, you just let the entire world know what's going on, that's when the Yerks should just sort of be like, "All right, let's yerk it up," and just, like, release a bunch of Yerks into the world and be like, "Find you a host, hope for the best." Like, try to get all of them right now that they know something's going on.
And eventually that is the Yerk's plan. Once they get enough controllers, like, once they infiltrate enough, then they're just gonna go full on take the planet by force. But for right
and
now,
that's what I figure is, like, if there's ever a point where they feel like, all right, like, someone, like, enough people know and are onto us that we just gotta, like, go for broke, basically.
Yeah. And that's also, like, a fear that I'm sure the Animorphs have. Like, there's the one thing where it's like you never know exactly who to trust. And as good of an idea as it is hard for, like, people to disappear for 3 days.
No.
No?
Not if you're Tobias, apparently. People still have not noticed that he's gone.
That's true. But if you're
check-in, what's going on there?
He's real sad that he fell asleep during the whole Valik thing.
No,
But
I
no,
mean, like,
no
what's going
posters,
on with
no
his
cartons.
family?
Oh,
Has anyone
they're
figured out yet that he's missing?
Listen, we're gonna find out more in book 13.
So many books.
So many books from now.
He doesn't show up to his high school graduation, and somebody's like, "Wait a minute."
Well, they're in middle school right now, so
That's
he
what
doesn't
I'm
show up to
saying.
his middle school graduation.
No, he
No,
doesn't.
that's
show
what
up
she
to
was
his high
saying, is
school
that they won't
graduation.
notice until high school.
Yeah. In 2002, you just said that your answering machine tape was full.
Also,
But no, I'm saying
here's a plan to disappear for 3 days. Is, like, tell your parent that you, like, need a day with them, that you're just, like, having a real hard time and you need a day with your parent. Ask them if they can take a day off from work. Make sure that it's a Friday. Thursday night, lock them in the thing.
Mhm.
And then by the end of the weekend, you've had your 3 days. If they've been yerked, the yerk is dead. And then be like, "I'm sorry that I had to lock you up for 3 days. Please don't ground me. Let me explain everything."
Okay, so what you've said was lock them in the thing, and I don't know if you've worked out, like, where you would lock them or how. Like,
In
maybe
Cassie's
Marco.
barn.
Maybe Marco could do it because his dad is the only one left. I feel like the rest of your family or your other parent otherwise would be like, "Hey, where's, like, you said you wanted to talk to your dad privately, but here's you, and he's still gone, and he took yesterday off work. He said he was going out for cigarettes, and I haven't seen him for 3 days."
It doesn't have to be a parent. It could be any adult. Just, like, all I'm saying is that, like, these kids need someone who can, like, see the big picture and, like, help them strategize.
But also, Marco's dad would be perfect because he's, like, a genius with, like, kind of has military connections.
And he has a huge stake in it since it's Marco's mom that is the thing.
Yeah, tell Marco's dad.
Yeah, tell Marco's dad.
That's really good.
Tell Marco's dad 2018.
2002 also, apparently.
Yeah. Hashtag tell Marco's dad 2002.
Marco's dad
Back when
has
you
gotten
you
us
said-
so bad.
Oh my god.
He's not a your Danny's.
Your brother's trying to kidnap one of your parents. Are you watching chat?
Which parent?
One of my parents for 3 days.
There's also like, I mean, the York's gonna be trying to get out, so like, there's gonna be a lot of screaming and yelling and pounding on doors, and like neighbors might be like, "Hey, something real fucked up going
I
on."
wasn't on this podcast, but didn't they do that to Jake and it was fine?
They locked him in a shack in the woods. That's a good point.
And nobody was like, "Where's Jake?"
Well, no, because Axe morphed into Jake to allay suspicion.
Oh, you
Same
just do that
deal,
again.
yeah. That's the thing is like
Axe is like, yes, I am Marco's dad.
again, no plan is the perfect plan, but I feel like so many of them are better plans than the ones that they actually do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes they have good plans. I will
Like
say,
this whale one?
the well one is good. I'm sure there are other. The ones that I've been the most frustrated with were the ones when they were just gonna grab the guy.
Yeah.
And now going forward, everything without the dog robot. But I mean, I get that now we've traveled back in time to before we recorded the podcast about the dog robot, so we shouldn't be talking about it. But damn.
Yeah, what book did Dog Robot happen in again?
They're in. Grab my purse. The dog robot happens in book 10.
Okay.
Also, ignore everything going on this side of the screen. It's fine. Anyway, what else does this book mean to you?
It seemed like it was a lot to deal with for it to switch between all of the Animorphs.
It was. Actually, also I think there's okay. So there's one Megamorphs book that I'm really excited to do, and I think it's the next Megamorphs, and Jessica, you need to be on that one. I don't know if I'm gonna spoil it. It's not a 3-word title. I'm gonna spoil the title of it for you.
Oh, gotcha.
It's called, I think it's Megamorphs number 2. I think it is. In the Time of the Dinosaurs.
Do they go back in time?
What?
Is it the Elemist?
No, of course not. It's a Sario Rip.
They finally told adults about anamorphing. Everybody gets to anamorph, and they all turn into dinosaurs because obviously.
So,
well, you'd have to acquire dino DNA.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So like the thing is like they go back in time to the dinosaurs, and then they all just acquire all the dinosaurs, right?
I mean, they do acquire some dinosaurs, so
I can't understand why we wouldn't just have like skipped to those books where they morph into dinosaurs.
Jessica, this is a book by book Animorphs podcast. When
will we get to the dinosaur books? And will it be my birth month for the ultimate birthday present?
God, I hope so. It's a good question. It's a Megamorph, so we can do it probably whenever. Let me just Google when.
Next question. After they acquire the dinosaurs, do they just like constantly morph into dinosaurs in all the rest of the books?
That's my question.
Well,
or do we just never see dinosaurs again after they get dinosaurs?
Jessica, all of this will be explained in Megamorphs number, I think, 2, in the Time of the Dinosaurs.
I feel like you're lying to me. I feel like you're just like trying to distract me from the issue at hand, which is that there's going to be another thing that they should be doing every book and they're just not doing.
Okay. I don't know enough about dinosaurs, but which would be the ideal time period if you want to get like the most badass dinosaurs? Cretaceous?
That's a good question. I guess it kind of depends on like what they want to do with the dinosaurs.
Oh.
But
I can tell you which morphs they acquire too.
Don't spoil that for me. I want to be surprised and delighted.
Yeah.
Or disappointed.
Okay. The dinosaurs. This is the first book. with that. When does it chronologically happen? Preceded by the decision, followed by the departure. So it's gonna be a little while.
Tell me when chronologically it happens.
Okay, the decision. Oh, it's an Axe book. That might be 18. Do, do, do.
Do we need to be vamping while you're doing this?
Yeah, vamp.
So if you could morph into a dinosaur, Jessica, which one would it be?
Ankylosaurus.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
what about
so
you?
go ahead.
Triceratops.
That's a good answer.
Pretty good. What is the one? Ichthyosaur.
Mm,
You know,
nice.
Nevada Pride.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was a water one, though, right?
Yeah.
Then you're in
I'd
the water.
morph from way high up into it and then just splash into the water
Yeah.
and kill all the Veleeks and whoever else. So it's after book 18.
Ugh.
And the next book is book 8, so we've got like 10 more books. But hypothetically, if we had already read 3 of those books, we'd only have 5 more books. So
Nice.
hypothetically,
Yeah.
you know,
If that were
in
true.
some weird future world. Anyway, this filled up 2 hours pretty perfectly. Do you have any more questions in the next 6 minutes? 10 triggers?
I actually do have a question. Can you remind me, just like, why I agreed to do this podcast?
Yes. I think what happened was I said, or Travis said, we should do a podcast where I just like tell you about Animorphs books, and you said, shut the fuck up. Yes, obviously.
That does
I think it
sound
was
like me.
Yeah.
I do
Very
make
good.
really bad decisions.
Yeah, I think you were really excited because I'm always talking about Animorphs like all the time in my real life, and this just seemed like a better outlet than dropping it on you randomly.
Well,
And then you realize that I'm still going to drop it on you randomly.
also, I think that part of why I was excited about it is because when I was young, I really did. Like, I remember loving the Animorphs.
Yeah.
Like, I read a bunch of the books. My brother and I watched the show. Like, I remember being way into Animorphs.
Thank you, Suda.
Thanks, Justin.
Excellent. The David Trilogy 10 Triggers is books 20 through 22, and I'm also very excited for it.
Who's David?
It's the David Trilogy, Jessica. I already spoiled when the next Megamorphs is. I can't tell you more about the David Trilogy, but I have made mention of it more than once on this podcast that I'm excited about the David Trilogy.
That doesn't sound true.
Oh, I have. Go back and listen.
I don't want to go back and listen.
Oh my god.
You complained because you're upset that I know the exact book numbers of certain things.
That's true.
I was just saying, like, I remember really actually enjoying the Animorph series when I was younger, and so I thought that it was going to be, like, really nostalgic and fun, and it turns out that, like, these books don't hold up. Like,
I like
probably
them.
when I was reading them as a kid, I was like, these plans make so much sense. These kids are so smart. But now, as an adult, I'm like, this is some bullshit. Tell a fucking adult. Get that fucking dog robot back in here. Don't do this to me.
Dog robot.
I'm sad we
Robopup.
brought up the dog robot because I feel like we were living in a really nice time period before we all knew about the dog robot.
It's true.
Yeah. Our listeners
And I
are
was
still
happy
living
to
in
be-
that time period.
Yeah. Stay there as long as you can.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Hold on to it with everything you have. Because
Just
after, nothing looks the same.
Yeah.
Just wait till the next book after the dog robot and you'll be pleasantly surprised. Or you won't. I don't actually remember what happens in book 11. I haven't read it yet. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying the podcast and these books, honestly. Yeah, the plans are great. And it's pretty cheesy, but not all the plans are crazy, and not all of it's cheesy.
Yeah.
I am having a lot of fun with the podcast. I just like these books. I remember them so differently.
Are you saying that I've basically ruined your childhood?
No, because you
retroactively.
don't have a time machine. It's not
I'm
possible to ruin my
disappointed.
childhood retroactively.
You know who has a time machine?
The Animorphs?
In
Several
the
of
time of the
them?
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed that there's not more animal romance. I was under the impression there would be more animal romance.
With Tobias specifically.
And just
Or, like,
whoever.
every
I just thought, like, I extrapolated from knowing that Tobias has a hot girlfriend that they would all have animal girlfriends and boyfriends, and they would like have to like balance their time with their cubs or whatever with like their schoolwork.
Oh, God.
Yikes.
Fine, just me. That's fine.
The Tobias romance thing is partially because he doesn't know if he's a hawk or a boy.
I
He's
mean,
a
both.
he's a bok. Is that a thing? Choi? Bok choy?
A boink.
A boik. A bouk. Bouk? Bouk. And so he doesn't know if he should be in love with Rachel or Girlhawk. And then the years made the decision for him when they incinerated Girlhawk.
Yeah.
He realized that there was something worth fighting for.
Ten Sugar says, "Let me direct you to my long-running Animorphs fan fiction."
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Thank you, 10 Triggers. Answering the question that no one asked.
Daniel, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, thank you so much for helping me reach my third fundraising goal.
Yay! What's next?
Anyway. Oh, I don't know. Are we all done?
Yeah, it's about 8 o'clock. It's 7:59.
Okay.
So I don't know what the next item on the schedule is.
Oh, this is the last part of the BTA stream for Extra
Yay!
Life.
Hi!
We've been streaming for over the course of about 24 hours. Well, really, like the first BTA sort of affiliated stream was Thursday night, so we've kind of been streaming on and off for the past couple of days. We were streaming, for those of you who didn't know, for Extra Life, which is an awesome organization that fundraises for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. You can find the link to our team page in the chat. Oh no, I got logged out.
Is it just Extra Life?
It is. I got it, I think. There we go. So it's in the chat right there. You can find our team page. Katie and I both have pages set up, and a bunch of other people, podcasters that we know, have their own pages set up. You can help us all reach our fundraising goals. All of the money goes to the children's hospitals that each of us chose to send the donations to. It's a really awesome organization, and you can find out more about it at extra-life.org. Really quickly, I do want to give some shout outs to all of my awesome donors who helped me raise $300 for the Seattle Children's Hospital.
Woo!
So Geek Heart Games, which is an awesome video game podcast. Sirens of Scream, which is an awesome horror podcast. Megan, Cia Varela, Alejandro Pagliarello, my mom, someone who I've known since high school, Jeff, who is going to be starting a D&D podcast very soon, so keep an eye out for that. Nice. I will tweet it as soon as it's out. Amber, who you've heard on Animorphous discussion before, and Bitches and Lushes and other places. Our excellent producer daddy, Travis. And Yay. Daniel, thank you so much for your donations, for helping me reach that $300 for the Seattle Children's Hospital.
I can shout out to mine. Mine are Justin, Santani, Kim, and Chris. I want to point out in the ongoing score against who Travis likes more, me or Jessica, he did donate to her and not to me.
Dang, harsh.
So what you're saying is I should donate to Katie and not to Jessica to kind of keep it even?
I mean, you both should have donated to both of us, is what I'm saying. No.
Oh, that's a good point.
No, but thank you so much to all the people who donated to me too, even though I'm like 100% sure they're not watching.
Thank you anyway.
Which hospital you're fundraising for?
Oh yeah, the UCSF Benioff Hospital in Oakland, California. I've lived a lot of places, so that was like my most recent one.
Nice.
And also our team, the podcast posse, which includes Bitch Team Alpha, Geek Heart Games, Sirens of Scream, and Megsy. I think that's everyone. As a team, we have raised a total of $1,385 of our goal of $1,500. So we're pretty close to our team goal, and we've already raised $1,300 for children's hospitals. So
yeah. Thanks to you all.
Thank you so much if you've donated for helping us get there. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. This is probably the only episode of Animorphous Discussion not sponsored by the sharing. Part of this.
That's a good point. We did not have a sponsor spot on this episode.
No, it was just all business. For the kids. Hashtag for the kids, right?
Yeah,
for the kids.
For the kids. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you all for donating and for tuning in if you did, and for commenting if you did, and just for loving Animorphs, which is, I assume, everyone. Everyone, especially on this call, loves Animorphs.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah, a lot.
And there is no video or audio evidence to the contrary.
I'm the doggiest dog forever.
Hello. If you could morph, would it be into a dog? I'm going to guess yes.
I would think so, yeah.
Dog morphing does seem like the best kind of morphing, yeah.
Yeah.
It does, right?
Accurate. Cool.
So,
well, that's it for me, I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to our Extra Life streams. We will hopefully be doing some more streams in the future, not as long as this one, just like occasional one-offs. Like, I feel like we should live stream all of the Megamorphs episodes.
I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
I'll have better next time.
Yeah. I'll turn back into a bat for the close.
Oh, yeah. Should we all have
our
morphs?
I've been a cat this whole time. I love that. Okay, where did you get that lobster, though? Because I love it.
It's such a good lobster.
I'm Lobster Jess. I don't remember where I got him. I got him from one of the casinos in Reno, I'm pretty sure. So maybe Circus or something. Yeah. But it may have been one of the other ones that just has like an arcade in it. Or it could have been from like Wild Waves or whatever it's called.
I think I won that for you at Wild Waters.
Yeah, that could be it. That sounds
I don't know. I don't think I ever won you anything, but if we can just rewrite history so that I won that for you at Wild Waters, it makes the most sense.
I think actually Jerome won it for me. Did you win this for me?
I don't think I ever won anything for you. I know I tried to at a basketball game at a water park in Seattle, but I didn't win.
Okay, now that I'm thinking about it, I am certain that Jerome won this from me. And better than that, I'm pretty sure he won it for me out of one of those like claw machines that was inside of a Walmart.
Damn, that's impressive.
Jerome?
Yeah, so shout out to Jerome. Thank you. I still have this lobster and I still love it.
Jerome, thank you for watching and sponsoring this episode. Love it.
Thank you for sponsoring this lobster.
Thank you for sponsoring this lobster.
Ten Sugar says we should stream one of the Animorphs games and that there are 3 of them.
I mean, yeah, maybe one of us who knows how to play games should stream the Animorphs games.
We also all bought the Animorphs TV show and wanted to do a drunk bitch pop with it and haven't yet. Y'all bought it, right? When it was on sale? Yeah.
I still have it. I think it's probably permanently on sale. I have to assume. I have both seasons, so
also,
I'm ready.
The doggiest dog ever wants to know if you play guitar.
I kind of play guitar. I haven't played it in a while, but I was learning.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked this awesome stream and want to hear more from us, you can check out our other podcasts at bitchteamalpha.com, including the regular podcast of this show called Animorphous Discussion, hosted by Robin.
That's me. Sorry, I should say something to make my face pop up. That's me.
You're good. And we've got other awesome shows like Bitches and Liches, which is our Blue Rose RPG actual play podcast. We've got Is It Okay, which is the show where we answer the questions that Google has already answered for you, and probably better. Mm-hmm. We've got
better, I think.
Yeah, we do have really good answers. We've got Bitch Time Always, which is our sort of like pop culture fun. Do we have a tagline for that show?
Answering the questions that Google already answered.
No,
way.
Is It Okay? Bitch Time Always is...
Animorphs, damn it. Oh.
we talk about Animorphs and Blue Rose and... Oh, wait.
Yeah, an actual play podcast? No, wait.
That's our sort of like pop culture podcast where we talk about books and movies and comic books and video games and whatever strikes our fancy that day, month, whatever. And yeah.
10 Triggers has a question. What
Yeah,
advantages does this Bitches and Liches podcast have over, say, a McElroy Brothers podcast, which I could also afford?
Exactly equal in quality and every other way. So there's no way to choose between them.
Yeah, you just have to listen to both.
I would say one of the advantages to Bitches and Liches to a lot of other actual play podcasts is that we play Blue Rose. And they're not, I don't know if there are any other actual play podcasts that play Blue Rose like constantly. There have been a couple who play as like one shots, a couple of shows that like teach a bunch of RPGs. And they, like some of them have cycled through and eventually hit Blue Rose, but we, like what we play is Blue Rose instead of D&D. So if you feel like you've got enough D&D podcasts, Bitches and Liches is right for you. If you don't feel like you have enough D&D podcasts, I'm also on a D&D podcast called D20 Dames.
So, really, Jessica can supply all of your actual play podcasting needs.
Yes.
And also all your friendship needs with her mouth tornado of friendship.
Aww.
It does not have beholders, but it has other cool stuff.
It has talking animals.
It does. One of the players is a talking crocodile and also a nurse.
Yep.
He wears a little nurse hat on his little crocodile head.
Yeah.
Sure does.
That's canon.
So definitely check that out.
Yeah, so check out our other content on bitchteamalpha.com. Thank you so much for tuning in and showing your love. Please like follow us on like Twitter and Instagram and all that awesome stuff, and tell us how much you love our stuff, and also tell us about your excellent stories of your favorite animals and share them with hashtag for humans like us.
Yes.
Yes,
We might
please.
read them on an episode of Animorphous discussion.
We would definitely read it.
Yeah.
Yes, I have read The Maze Runner, and I did not enjoy it.
Bitch team out!
Bitch team out!